Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cleric Square Ringmail YouTube channel. But, Taylor, this doesn't look like one of your normal videos. This looks like you've got your cell phone taped to a Pampers box on top of a makeshift stool. You're right, because today we're doing something special. Campaign Carnival 2022. Presented by Wargame Culture, this is a multiplayer, massive online tabletop event where each referee is encouraged to play a game leading through a series of scenarios and telling an overall story, any miniatures game, any epoch you choose to use, and from there, string it all together with after-action reports and foster a little bit of community, build up some more wargaming. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to set up for scenario number A. So let's get started. Let's see, the first thing we're going to need here is this piece of paper, and we're going to jump over to our scenario description. Note, this is available on itch.io. It is free, free up to whatever you want to pay. Printable. I printed mine out in a little booklet format, stapled it together myself. Only managed to staple it to table twice while trying to get this done. But so yeah, nice little free thing. I encourage you to pop on in. While it may be too late as I'm recording this to get involved in the actual event, no reason you can't pop on later, and no reason you can't wait for the next go around. So, what we're doing tonight, like I said, is we're setting up for scenario 1. I need to set up terrain. How do we set up terrain? Well, we could use the chainmail rules, but we're actually provided with this set of special rules that pertain to the explicit scenario here. We're going to take out a sack of cards. We're going to do some divide the field into segments, and then we are going to decide what's there. So first things first, I'm going to map out. Let's see, this is our field of play. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2, 3, 4 down, and then we'll do 6A across. We have our middle guy here. That's off to the side, I don't care. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Paper and pencil, everybody. So let's see, we have our sectors, and next we're going to need to get a pack of playing cards. Now, I wish I could say I had a special set of playing cards that were RPG or wargame related, but what we're going to use tonight is my clown deck. More specifically, this is an antique set of standard playing cards. It's got these pastel clowns on it. I swear I looked up what the art style was before I came on, and then I promptly didn't care. But my wife says she picked these up at a yard sale, and that was a good find because these are gorgeous, vintage, kind of antique-y, and I'm really enjoying the feel of them. And most importantly, jokers are in Congress. So, having removed the joker, I believe that is the only one. Let's shuffle. Yep, that was the only joker on that deck, so let's shuffle these up. All right, we got that over with. So we're going to take a regular pack of cards and we are going to draw 10 of them, placing them on the table according to sector. So we're going to do, let's see, we'll shift this up a bit. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is tricky. Now, Stephen, you couldn't have just done this clockwise or anything. You just had to go all over the map here. 8, 9, 10. So we have our 10. We have our 10 sectors, and now we'll flip them over and check according to the key provided in the layout. running out of space. We're going to okay. We have our top layer here, sectors, and let's see, let's number these off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My 2 is off there. Let me just move that 2. We don't need that 2 there. So let's see. We have our top. We have 5 and 6. That is a 3 of spades and a ace of diamonds. So a hill. See, so we have a hill here, and we have grassland. Ooh, that's interesting. If this had been a heart, we would have had a river with a bridge. But if we check here, there are no river sectors. So that would have been interesting. I wonder if I could have cheated on that regard. But nope, we're going to move these to the side because it is a moot point. So, shunk. Next set. So on segment number 4, we have a 4 of clubs. Clubs is light woods. King is a court card, so it is a hill with woods. Diamonds is grassland, and hearts is grassland. It is a court card, so it is a river, but according to the scenario rules, we do not have rivers. Rivers do not exist in this land, so we're going to dart again. 4 of spades. There is our hill. We are having our engagement in the high country, it would seem. And we'll shift up 7 and 8 here, sectors 7 and 8. We got a 10 of hearts, that's standard old grassland. And we have our ace of hearts, which is a river with a bridge. Nope, rivers are illegal. They have been made. They have been outlawed by our barony, our Baron number A, from our scenario description, and we have a 3 of clubs instead. This is light woods. Okay, and finally we have our last 2, 5 and 6. Now, hopefully by the next time I record some of these, I'm going to have better equipment. And maybe I did go into my old stock and pick up a web camera, and I was able to hook up a web camera hanging from the ceiling. However, that web camera is a Logitech from, it's probably older than some of the people watching this video right now. I bought it with my desktop in 05, 06 when I realized I wanted to have one playing Skype with some buddies. And needless to say, you would not, from the distance I am hanging, be able to read any of this stuff that I'm doing. So we're going to try to head over to Office Depot if I can sometime between now and fighting the battle and get something a little more suitable than the setup I've got going on right now. But we will worry about that another time. Let's see. We have our wooded hill here. Oh, no, it's not a wooded hill. It's just a regular old woods. I would need a face card, or I would need a court card in order to be a wooded hill. And then we have a 6 of hearts. A 6 of hearts is grass. All right, here we have it. We have the terrain for our battle. Focusing over here on scenario number 1, retire in good order. As a backdrop to this, a Baron number A has come across into the territory of Baron number B, having had enough of his hogwash, and has been soundly thwumped, having underestimated his opposition. And so now in retreat, Baron number B has sent his dudes along to pursue. Our side A is going to have significantly reduced forces because the main force is retreating this way, and the rest of us are going to try to break through. Now, it looks like we have B, that is our pursuing baron, up here. And we have side A, our retreating baron, down here. So if this is south, then these troops are going to about face and just kind of bolt off the table. But knowing that I've watched the War Game Culture Purple Druid enactment of this scenario, and he actually has them engage as opposed to doing just that, I'm assuming that south is actually this way, and side B has cut off the side A. So side A, we're going to be deploying in the grasslands and flanking in the woods. That makes sense. And then over this side, we have some high ground, maybe watching out for seeing where our enemies are going. And then we have our grasslands over here where our main force is going to chill. So from here, let's figure out who is available. So we know that we have side A, 45% of our active forces. And we know side B, 90% active forces. How do we determine who is there and who is not? Well, our buddy Purple Druid has got us covered. We have some scenario restrictions, each scenario stating how many troops are available or not available based on the side and as a percentage of the base list. So I have two armies. I have the army of the Baron B. Here's Baron B. He is a superhero. That is to say, fights as 8 men, requires 8 hits to take him out, and he has his He has his buddy, his sorcerer advisor. Maybe that is how Baron B, with his smaller force, was able to take on the role of the aggressor. On the other side, Baron A, we had the Baron with his 2 sons, elder and younger. Both of them are valiant warriors. We're treating them as hero, but Baron A is off the field. We're going to say he has been captured, and it is the responsibility of his sons to get his forces into a place where they can either set up and execute on a ransom or break him out of jail. And we have our trusty die 8 per the chart to see who needs to come off. But I'm going to need to print out a list. So, like I promised, we have our list here. There are 2 forces. We have Baron A, who is on the offense, and Baron B, who is on the defense. Both are chainmail miniatures. Both lists are chainmail rules for medieval miniatures. However, I have not been able to find my miniatures. So we have, these are leaders. We have our Baron B. We have our sorcerer, and they will be represented by the blue printed chits. He's got a very cavalry heavy horse. He's got some crossbowmen and some heavy infantry to try to protect him. On the other side, we have Baron A, who had brought his 2 sons along. They are our generals at the moment, in the absence of their father. They brought along these, which will be siege equipment. They are light catapults. They have a heavy unit of cataphracts who are going to follow them around, some flanking medium cavalry, and here's our last catapult there. They brought along a significant number of archers to support them, some heavy foot troopers. A note in chainmail, heavy is the middle ground, so we're talking about maybe sword and board. Then we have our armored, and here is where it gets interesting. Peasant rabble. Baron A, in his anticipation, in an attempt to show overwhelming force, was able to round up all of the able-bodied men from the farmsteads on his way through, and so he has 100 of these ill-trained, ill-disciplined, and oh, this archer, he wasn't even wanting to be next to him. I need to turn off the fan overhead, but that's okay. We'll do that before the battle. And so this army, look, both of these armies are valued at 750 points. Now, for easy math, I probably should have gone for 1,000, but I don't think that far ahead. This force looks significantly larger than this force, and it is, but you have to keep in mind, the superhero and the sorcerer, these are very powerful classes. And heroes, these are nothing to sneeze at, but peasants, these are virtually useless. You pay more to equip your unit with a spear than you do to put a unit of peasants on the field. So we do have some artillery here. If these are able to be put to bear against this army, these are going to be bad news. However, this guy has a lot of capability to make that not happen, and put them in a position to where this force will be able to multiply itself. So we'll sweep these off the field. So who is not going to be available? So let's see. So we know, we'll start off with Baron A. Baron A is only allowed to have 45% of his troops. So we know that 750, half of 750 is 375. So we're just gonna go with, we're gonna remove pieces off the field until our net is down to 375. So who is gone first? Number 5, 1 unit of light cavalry. We do not have light cavalry, but we do have the next best thing, medium cavalry. So we're going to remove one of those off the board. Those are 3 points apiece. Each unit has 20 in it, so we're going to remove 60 points. We are down to 690. 690 is greater than that. So who else is in the retreat? Another unit of light cavalry. So we're not going to have any of our medium horse on this particular foray. That will be another 60 points right off the top. And we're still above our threshold. So who else? 7. I'm rolling hot. Let's see, player's choice. You know, I don't know if, this is a good one. So, logically, if I'm trying to keep off the field, I'm going to want to keep my good units in reserve. I'm going to want to keep them protected and keep them off the battlefield to prevent anything bad happening to them. Additionally, you're going to think you're going to have the heavier stuff, the heavier things protecting our heirs apparent. However, we're also in a retreat scenario, and mobility is going to be important. So what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to kick the armored foot. Armored foot move ridiculously slowly. They would not be able to outrun any of this other army list. So if this other army list comes in and the armored foot get stuck in, they're staying there. So the armored foot, there were 30 of them, so that's a unit and a half, but that's easy math, 75 points. Let's see. $555. Let's see who's next. Number 1, the unit with the highest morale or experience. Ooh, let's see. That one is interesting. I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to check on Chainmail on that one, but if I remember correctly, heroes should have the highest morale. Oh, all right. Here is my copy of Chainmail 3rd edition, available from the Drive-Thru RPG. We are going to swap over here. So the The highest morale is going to be the heavy horse out of the list. What I'm looking up now is I'm checking to see if our hero has a better one. So, heavy horse is worth 9 apiece. And a hero, we'll skip back here to the fantasy supplement. Heroes, morale rating of 20. So they're gonna splatter the snot out of that number 9. So we're gonna lose one of our heroes right off the rip. That's 20 points. That also makes sense because you know the sun's not going to be in the rear guard. Unit of light cavalry. We are out of light cavalry, so we're going to have to take this heavy off the table. That's 100 points right there, so we're down to 435. We are almost at our 45% threshold. 7, player's choice again. I want to take the light catapults off because the light catapults are going to be they're very tempting to keep because if they're able to make contact with the enemy, they splatter the enemy. So the rules for catapults, you essentially have a guess to the range, how far out, how far to the side, and you roll for overshot or undershot. But if it hits, then the unit that it hits is gone. No save, no nothing, just gone. So I'm tempted to keep that as a good equalizer, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense for them to be there. And also, I want to keep, if I keep my peasants out here, then I'm not going to be able, that's interesting. The peasants are effectively useless. So I'm going to so if I keep them, I can just line them up, let the enemy forces splatter them out, and then get my important guys off. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and take off these. You know, let's take off 2 of these light catapults. We'll just take one of them for now. So we're down to 2. That's 15 points, and we're at 420. 1. Oh, there's our other hero. That makes sense. The 2 boys are off leading the charge in the rear. Number 5, light. You know, is this broken? I'm looking at this die, and I don't see any bubbles in it, but I don't know. No, but we are totally out of cavalry, so I can't do that. 5, 2. There we go. 1 hero commander, of course. 5, 6. There we go. A unit of heavy infantry. That we have, specifically heavy foot. So we're going to take one of those off. Down to 20. Those are 2 points apiece. That's 40 points. That puts us at 360. Our list is set. We have our longbowmen. We have one of our heavy foot. We have a crowd of peasants, and we have 2 of our 3 pieces of artillery getting caught by an ambush by our pursuing Baron B, who only has to drop 10% of his force. So we only have to drop 75 points before he's ready to go. 2, 6, unit of heavy infantry. He has armor foot. Oh, that explains why this list looks so sparse. I had only printed out 1 of these, and he has 4. So I need to print out a few more of these. That's okay. And we drop 1 of those. We're down to 60. They're 2.5 points apiece. Thank you, Gary. So let's see, 20 times 2.5. 10, so we drew the 10, 25 to 50. So that's 50 points. And we have roll 1 more time. 6. 1 unit of heavy infantry. Yep, this die I'm not going to say it's cursed. It's just being very consistent, and I need to make sure if I use this in the future, I mark in my brain what it's rolling and then plan to roll that exact same number forever. 40. We said that was 50 points, so we're down to negative 25. He is a little under 90%, but that's how we roll. So we are likewise set. So what is our matchup going to look like? We're going to have Sorcerer, Baron, and a big army of horsemen, 80 light cavalry floating behind them and supported by 4 ranks of armored footmen and two flanking medium horse. So a much larger force than initially indicated by the chits, in part because I was supposed to print this twice and forgot. They are going to be going up against peasants. Peasants and some longbowmen. I don't see this going well for Baron A, but we will let the dice decide. And we have our terrain, we have our lists, and from here, all I've got to do is set up and play. And here is our battlefield. So you may recognize the vague shape of it a little bit. We have a bunch of forestry down in the lower left there. We have a handful of hills. The forests are the green blotches, and the hills are the poorly illustrated topo lines there. This is my old Chessex wet erase mat because I cannot for the life of me find any of my miniature stuff. But that's okay because this comes with a grid that'll help me to move a little more quickly. Now, who are we fighting with tonight? Here we have our Baron A in retreat. It looks like he has his peasant rabble being kept in line by a unit of heavy infantry accompanying the ranged support of his primary operation. And then they're being caught off guard by our good buddy Baron B and his sorcerer buddy, as well as a very, very sizable contingent of cavalry. So thinking about the way the terrain is laid out, looks kind of like our boys over here who are off and about with some of the heavier troops. They may be trying to run a diversion on the main route of retreat to try to disguise the movements of the rabble on the other side. And in the interim, we are trying to take advantage of this forestry cover to try to slip through unnoticed. But never underestimate the power of the sorcerer or the wargame scenario author. So from here, let's set these armies up and see what they're going to do. All right, deployment completed. So what I did here, Chainmail doesn't give a lot of guidance on how to set up your armies. In the past, when I've played similar games, you could either put a veil between the two armies, so you set up and then boom, after you've set up, you see how you face off against the enemy, or in less or more modern circumstances, I have played games where you placed one unit at a time. Now, because I am playing both sides of this engagement, there's no way for me not to know what the other side is doing, so I opted to place one unit at a time according to the setup guidelines from the scenario. Now, what we can see on the northern side of the map, that's our Baron B, and he's got his cavalry out on the flanks. The initial idea was they needed to take the high ground on the left there. Thought process being that cavalry are very effective on the charge. However, if you're going through terrain, woods, uphill, then that charge is negated because per the difficult terrain rules, no charge move is possible. Then on the far right there, same idea, cavalry on the flank, they're going to go up onto that hill on the right and negate any advantage that the defenders might have. In the center, we have our medium cavalry and our baron riding with them. He is a superhero, so he's not afraid of anybody, and he's going to go run right up the middle and challenge whomever is in his path. Then we see the hill in the center of the northern side of the map. That is our friendly neighborhood sorcerer. He is hanging out. He's guarded by 2 units of crossbowmen and then 2 units of armored foot. They took the high ground. They're going to sit there. The armored foot and the crossbowmen are intermingled so that the armored foot may fire, but then if charged may back out and not give combat. Let the guys with the plate do that for them. Then we have here down on the south of the map, we've got our peasant rabble. They're out kind of in the clear, in the open, partially thinking, you know, that may be just some temptation for the warlord to come down and crush. Or alternatively, it's a good way to secure the flank. If they are able to withstand or get up into those hills, then they can provide a barrier between the cavalry on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the field and my more valuable troops. Our archers, we have 3 units of archers. They have set themselves up at the far edge of the forest. They're going to try to pepper people who come down towards them. And then we have some heavy foot up against the base of the hill who are going to have to choose between going up said hill and to try to take it before the cavalry get there, or staying put and protecting the archers. Our 2 catapults that were caught in the fracas here. I'm not sure why you would leave catapults on a rear guard like this, but that's okay. Presumably they may just be moving slowly, and then they just happened to get caught by the pursuing force. They are at the south end of the woods. Catapults can fire indirectly, so they may be able to hang out and lob projectiles over that set of woods and at the enemy blindly. Now the question then is, can they fire from within the woods? Siege engines, as far as I remember, and I will do a rule check on this before I do it, siege engines may fire into cover, but the catapults, artillery, the trees aren't enough to stop them. So we'll see if they can fire from where they are. They're going to be much more effective than if they can. They have to turn around, hightail it out of them woods, and then turn around and then about face again before launching their payloads. So we've got everybody set up. I'm going to try to set up a non-phone camera, and then we will see. We'll play this scenario out. All right. So I did say that I was going to try to get a non-cell phone web camera pointed down on this, but that did not happen. I did not make it past the office supply store, so you're just going to have to put up with me on this somewhat low fidelity device. However, I think I've got it set up in a good place. You get a pretty good look at the battlefield, and you'll be able to see what's going on. In terms of rules I'm using here, there are 2 types of movement in Chainmail. You have the simultaneous movement where orders are given, movements are moved, and you check for unplanned contact. Or you have the move and counter move system where you roll initiative. So because I am playing with myself, I know where I'm going, and I'm going to opt to use the move counter move system. We've got 2 dice here. We have the blue one for blue team and the yellow one, or we'll call it amber for the amber team. Hey, the colors line up. It's almost like I thought about this. And I did not think about laughter blowing these things out of place. Let's put everybody back. All right, that wasn't so bad. So this is a fairly small space in terms of what you might expect from a chainmail battle. Usually you'd want to be playing on a bigger table than the one I've got going, but you play with what you got. So I am going to take a cue from the master himself, Mr. Wargaming, and I'm going to have all the distances that everybody can move, everybody can shoot. That will give a little bit more breadth to this engagement, and hopefully it'll make it a little more playable. So I'm going to be using, I've got as many die 6 as I can over here that way, a little off camera, and I'm going to be using different dice to try to indicate stuff like fatigue or casualty markers as they accrue. So I think it's just about time to get into turn 1. Turn 1. Let's see. 5 and 1. So the blue team has the initiative, and they are going to take it. They need to get down there, and they need to get up in this. They need to get up in these guys' grills in as fast as they can. So let's see. First off, we have our light horse. Light horse move lightning fast. They're 24 inches on a standard battlefild. So here, if we're saying we're having it, they can go 12. You know what? I think, that is interesting. These archers being in the woods may save their lives, because I have not counted these grids. I am using the wet erase in part for terrain, but in part so I don't have to break out the ruler. But I feel like they actually may have had the charge if they had not, because their charge move is 30. So they probably would have the charge if they were able to do so. So let's see, how are they going to handle this? So, all right, so these guys are going to wheel here. They have 12 inches of movement times 7/8 should put them at about 10.5. So we're going to go, see, they're probably, they just turned here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. So barely enough. That's their 10 and a half. So barely enough to get them up on top of that there hill. We'll come over on this side. Or we'll come over on this side. These fellas, we're going to face them like yonder, so they have another 10 to go also. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do this. And so they had done 4. That'll put them at 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. And then I have the catching here may not be as obvious on the camera, but what I wanted to do here is there's a hill and a hill, but because they were kind of flowing together, I kind of joined them up a little bit here, and there's this little bump. I figured, so we have our level ground here, we have the high point, high ground, and then a little lump in the middle. So if I was over here, you wouldn't be able to see me. But so there's a downhill spout here and an uphill spout here, and so we're going to go. Well, how far did I say they went? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they on 6, and they lost 1.5, 7.5. They'll probably land right here. Now, typically, your horses are not going to want to go into the woods, and I'm over here kind of flipping through to see if horses have any particular penalty in the forest. But all it says is that it prevents the movement of formed troops. So we'll figure out what that means as we go. But in any case, that's where their move ends. Let's see. And so next up we have our medium cavalry. They're going to be able to move 9. So 1, 5. And we'll get our handy dandy cheatery here. So he's gone 5 so far. Out of his 9, and so if I'm doing 9 times, oops, so he can do a total of 8 if he wheels. So he's going to wheel here. 5, 6, 7, and we'll hammer him out here. 8. So yeah, this is not looking good for our peasant bros. In the scenario, I remember I did say that I was going to try to have the scenario to where these fellows are Amber is trying to escape through the blue, but per the official guide that I had printed out, Amber is deploying on this side of the map, and they are trying to retreat off of Section 3 here or Section 2 here. Yep, so we're going to have to try, I think what they're going to want to do is get rid of the pursuers and try to haul it out of there. So they're going to have to find a way out of the woods if they're going to really make a difference with the in the fight. So I think our armored foot there, they're going to stay put for now. Their job is to protect that wizard and that sorcerer. So apologies, that's a slight but important distinguishing factor. Now, if I had thought about it, I probably could have had him cast a haste spell. Let's check the order of operations here. The turn sequence in Chainmail follows essentially what you would expect out of the AD&D game. So you have your movement, missile, artillery, more missiles, because that's the pass-through fire and split fire, then melee, and then morale as needed. So that, let's see, now that I'm thinking about it, our archers over here may have been entitled to pass-through fire. What is the range on their long bows? The range on the long bows is 21, so we're going to hammer that down to E10 and a half. So they would be able to aim out as far as this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 6. So that is, Yep, so we'll give it to these two. So these guys would be able to do a pass-through fire. Well, we will resolve that momentarily. We will resolve that now. So we are firing on lightly armored. How does this work? So we have 20 and 20. And let's see, because so let's see, 20 and 20 divided into groups of 10, because we are half armor or shield, we can do 4 dice. Oh, that's 5. So we have 4 dice, and we are, see how we go. We're gonna, oh, actually I don't need to roll. We automatically deal 3 casualties. So I don't even need to roll that. So we'll grab a die 12 and put 3 casualties on that yonder horse. Next, movement for these guys. Now, let's see. Now, I did not look up whether or not the catapult was going to be able to fire from where it is in the woods. Rate of fire. Light catapults, which is what those are, fire every other turn, provided they are fully crewed and have not been moved during the previous 2 or 3 turns, as the case may be. Full crew and reduction rate of fire, blah, 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 blah. Cover. Any substantial overhead cover negates the effect of catapult fire. That's receiving it. Yeah, we will let them have it on. We will let them have it on an even. 4 even. So where they are able to fire. So they have been setting up. So we're going to give them a chance to fire on this first turn. That will mean they will not fire again next turn. The peasants, I think these guys are going to stay put. I probably ought to start putting down fatigue tokens. We use a die 10 for that. Now, the official Chainmail game has you do this in a more complicated way. However, I personally find that it's easier just to put the numbers down next to them. So there's a certain number of moves or combats or charges you can do. And I think, does going uphill cost extra? Oh, no. Movement uphill equates to 2 normal moves. So does that mean that I should not have reduced their rate of movement, and I should have just given them more fatigue? Yeah, we're gonna go with what we got. So next, let's see. We're gonna guesstimate on how to fire. Now, the overshoot and undershoot is an optional rule, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. We are within our 45-degree range of fire for these guys, so they are both going to launch a round over there at the wizard. Now, wizards are usually immune. They are immune to normal missiles. So if the archers in the woods there were a little closer, they could shoot at him and nothing would happen. However, catapult fire versus fantastic figures. Only the following kinds of fantastic creatures will be subject to catapult fire, including missile fire by giants: hobbits, sprites, dwarves, gnomes, goblins, kobolds, elves, fairies, orcs, heroes, anti-heroes, wights, ghouls, lycanthropes, orcs, ents, and rocks. So, looks like he's safe. So it looks like he's going to be safe, but if they can land a blow into the troops there, that'll be some bad news for them. All right, so let's see. First, we're going to deal with this indirect fire. So the crossbowmen, I believe, are out of range. They have a range of 18 or 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they're out of range. They can't. They're barely not able to hit these guys. So they're going to need to move up if they want to return fire. But that does mean that these guys are probably going to be able to shoot at them. They did not move, but first we'll do the artillery. So I'm going to guess. For this guy, I'm going to go 16 up and or towards the camera. So I'm going to go 16 up and 6 across. And then this guy, I'm going to go 16 up and 8 across. So first, let's see, we'll get an indicator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 6, and then 1. I knew I should have changed it up, but I didn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a slightly long shot, but we're going to do over and under, which we will roll on 2 die 6. Let's pull you guys out. So I do actually have a matched set of 6-sided dice. I played with More Time, Warhammer, and a bunch of other stuff. So I do have a match set somewhere, but I could not for the life of me find it. I found a bunch of old minis. I probably should have brought some in here to show you guys, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So first, and I'll do that as a short. So first, this guy, over under. The green is over, white is under, is 1 under. Oh, that's not good. And then over under for this guy, it is, oh wow. And I said green was over. Okay, so it moves up this way. So that's not too bad. The sorcerer is fine, and but that's some bad news for this unit of crossbowmen. So a direct hit, these are taken off the field as casualties, and the light catapult's hit area is 2 inches, and because we've halved that, it's 1, and it hit dead on and right here. So I wonder, and that's 1 inch from the center. So well, let's give the guys there a save. On a 4-up, they take some casualties. On a 1 through 3, they're okay. 4. So we got a couple guys taken out here. 1 inch in is halfway in. I'm assuming they're in 2 ranks, so maybe 10 there. So they're at half mast. That is not good for them. So then we're gonna finish up our shooting phase. We have, let's see, we have done our movement, we have done our pass-through, we have noted our, let's see, I'll just use one of these wet erase markers to signify that the catapults have fired. Okay. And morale should probably occur for those armored foot. So I think they are out of range for the other dudes, but it doesn't matter. They're going to do their morale first. That is not morale, that is instability due to casualties. So what that means is I'm going to grab me 2 die 6, and they are armored foot, so they are required to test once they have lost 1/3 of their number. They have lost greater than 1/3 of their number, so they're going to need to test with a, oh, boxcars, they love it. They hit that on the nose, so they are ready to keep rolling. So now we're going to return fire with the. We're going to return fire with our wizard. They may throw either a lightning bolt, which is 6 inches long by 3 1/4 inches wide, or a fireball, which is the hit area of a large catapult. So the large catapult has a minimum of 24 inches, so that's a minimum of 12 on ours and a maximum of 24. So he knows that the 16 worked its way right there, so he knows he's 16 away from these guys. So let's aim at 12 forward and 7 across. 12. And what did I say? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So he's going to hit right here. Now we'll do over under. The red die is under and the green die is over. He is 1 over. So there. And the hit area of a heavy catapult, which is a little bigger, that's 3.5 inches. So on our halved, that would be 1.5, and we'll give it 2. So these guys immediately annihilated. As a ball of flame, the catapults are okay, but the ball of flame hits, engulfs this entire woodland area, annihilates this unit of heavy foot, and we're going to give these guys a save. Same save as, we'll give them a little bit less. We'll give them the same save. 1 through 3, they avoid damage. 1. So the dice are in the favor of Baron Amber, but not in the favor of these poor heavy foot. We're going to move them over here to our casualty pile. All right. Next, missile. These guys did pass through already, but because they did not move, they were allowed to fire a second time as longbowmen. The longbow has a range on our table of 10.5, and so let's see. Let's open up. Are we in our? Because they're facing north, so yeah, they are. They cannot fire at these guys. They would have to do a movement formation to do that. So let's shoot this direction, and we're going to aim at these guys. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. They are 10 away, so these guys are in range. So is this guy, just barely. So we're going to loose those volleys one at a time. So 20 against armored. Fully armored, I get 1 die, but I don't need to roll it because they deal 3 casualties automatically. These fellows, let's fire at the same unit. Again, that's 20 and 3 additional casualties, up to 6. They test when they've lost 1/3 of their number. 1/3 of 20, they would need to take 1 more casualty. So let's have these guys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, let's see. We're gonna. So he is right on the edge of that range, and because I'm counting from squares, we'll give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Let's move him down a notch. So we're going to treat him as 10. So 10 archers on a 1 to 4, they take 1 casualty. On a 5 or 6, they'll take 2. That's a 5, and so this 6 jumps up to an 8. Sitting still might not have been the best idea. So that is just enough to force them into morale 7, and that should be sufficient. I think armored foot love it. They will hang out on a 6 or better. Now you'd think I would have thought to put together a cheat sheet for all this stuff, but I just don't think these things through. So we're playing with what we can. Next, and I think that is it for turn 1. Okay, coming in for turn 2, we're going to roll us some initiative. Blue has it again. They're going to take it. He's going to charge into these peasants. I think these, yeah, we'll handle this right to left. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3.5. Now it's 3.5 because we determined that 1/8 of their movement is 1.5 inches. So 1, 2, 3.5, 4, 5, 6. And a right, and we'll do 7, 8. And a right face is half move or 1/4 for them, so it would have been 2 inches. But I think moving them this far so that the archers can no longer see them. Well, actually, no. Let's back this up. So we'll go to here instead because we know these archers can't see us, and we're going to do a right face. And we're coming for you. We know that you guys are not really a threat. We know that you guys are, so we're going to take you down. This is not looking good for Team Amber despite their good start. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they make contact. So we will have our D8 to indicate they have moved 5 inches so far. And then our light horse here will go through the woods. That's 7. Oh, it's the woods. It's that's difficult terrain. So he's supposed to be going 6. So they make it to here. Yep. And so we're going to bump your fatigue up 1. I'm going to bump your fatigue up 1. Casualties follow them. And bump your fatigue up 2 because we charged and are going to fight our melee. Next, we're going to take our armored foot. Now, this would the altruistic thing on the part of the wizard would have been to give a haste spell to those armored foot, get them into the fight quicker, but we're gonna do okay there. We're gonna do okay there anyway. And instead, our armored foot are going to hoof it. So they are a movement of 6. Okay. Oop. So these guys are a little vulnerable. So you need to check for instability a second time once you hit the threshold a second time. So when this counter gets to 14 for these guys, they're going to need to check again. But so far they're doing okay. And then our crossbowmen, they are light crossbowmen. So they have a move of 6. Huh. Oh, I forgot. 1, 2, 3. Having the distance. Oh yeah, they definitely need their they need their beauty rest. So we're going to move you guys up half because we don't want to lose it too much, and that'll put them in a place to where they may fire. Now the half range on a longbow is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're not going to pass through here. They're not going to be vulnerable to pass through fire here. However, the crossbowmen moved half, so they're able to fire up to 9. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yep, these are all in mine. So let's fire on this fellow right here in the middle. Now they are in light cover in the trees, so only the first rank, so level ground, only the first rank will be able to fire their crossbows. And then these guys being in cover, any casualties will be halved. So they are unarmored. That is, they're light infantry, and there are 10 dudes firing at them. So they're either going to take 4 or 5 base. 4, that is halved because they are in cover. And so we put our casualty marker here. Next, let's resolve. And I'm probably supposed to have charged, or I was probably supposed to have, done the melee on the charge. Nope, melee occurs after missile fire. So now we get to fight our first combat. So only the first 2 ranks there. So first we need to check to see if those peasants hold up to that medium cavalry and a superhero. So superheroes require the first things first. If a superhero charges you, as he has done in this case, you need to check for instability. And so we'll do, would that be better to do before or after? Well, first we'll do the, do they withstand the cavalry charge? And that is in the back under optional rules for realism. Oh, no, it was the last rule before that. So we were going to use it anyway. So peasants, if the attacking, let's see, in order to withstand the charge amount of men, the defending unit must check morale. Peasants require a 10 to stand up to this, and they do not. So units that fail to score the required rolls retreat 1.5 moves, backs to the enemy, and must rally. So a peasant unit it does not specify the peasant's movement rate, but I'm going to, because I think they fight as light, so we're going to treat them as light infantry. They certainly cost according to light infantry. So their movement is 9. So they will turn tail. On our board, it's 4.5. We're going to do up to 6.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 because they hit the woods. So, yeah, they hit the woods, and that's about as far as they can get. So then this guy had moved 5, and he is a medium horse. So his charge is up to 12 on our grid. So we're going to go 6, 7, and he's going to make contact with this unit, who is going to have to roll 2 and will not stick to it. 4, 5, 6.5, and then we will finish out our charge to here. So really, I'm going to move this back to 2 because they charged, but they did not melee. So according to the fatigue rules, moving 2 consecutive turns charging and then meleeing causes weariness, or moving 1 turn charging and then meleeing. So we're just going to leave it at 2 for now. I'm sure that will change up. And so these guys must rally on their next turn. So everybody's moved. No. So our catapults here, they hear what's coming, so we're going to do an about face. That requires their full movement. These archers have a decision to make. They did they did not do pass fire. They did. Okay, and I think I need to take closer track of turns because I don't remember if I fired their. I don't remember if I fired. I don't think I have because I haven't done the. I did the shooting phase early for the. Oh no, I already did. No, I'm good. I'm good. These guys did their thing. They shot at those guys. We're good. So that is the end of turn 2. Yep, turn 2. And we're back for turn 3. Taylor, those dice look unfamiliar. It looks like the color has changed. Well, truth be told, it is now tomorrow, and at the end of turn 2, I looked at my watch and realized how late it had gotten and realized I had to go to work in the morning. So thinking, surely this will be a safe bet, I took all of my die 6 and then wedged them on top of these paper counters so that the fan up there would not knock them all, would not blow them out of space. And then at some point in the night, you'll notice this right here is rolled. This is like a 6-foot mat, but I've only rolled out half of it. And this had fallen off the table, and it had thrown every miniature, every die, all over the entire office. So I spent a little time picking these up, and I rewatched the video from last night in order to do my best to make sure everything was in order. We're going to run with it. This is the best I can do in terms of keeping things straight. So we are at the top of turn 3. Let's get our Team Blue and Team Amber. And Baron Amber has got the initiative. These guys are forced to rally, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to hang out. If they are not attacked, then they will rally automatically. Let's see. First, we will handle these catapults over here. These catapults are pretty easy. They're just going to try to start retreating. 3. Now we make an easy decision here. And what are these guys going to do? These peasants, what they could do is I could have them right face and try to engage a flank attack here, but peasants are notoriously unreliable. It's difficult to get them to attack. So if I check the notation on their unit, in order to attack a medium horse, I have to roll an 11 on 2d6 to get them to charge. And so that is not good odds. Now we know why the Amber Baron was defeated. He brought these useless guys into battle. So let's see what to do next. So I could. They're not in a position. They're too close to get in the way. Because what I would like to do is put them in between, so they'd be like dawdling here, take up his turn, let these guys rally. But they're bad at that. So what they're going to do instead, we're going to do a left face. And we're going to hightail it out of here. So that's half their move. Peasants we're treating as light foot. Light foot have a movement of 9 or 4.5. So we'll give them 2. And we'll let these guys turn a little bit because they moved up and they're trying to get down and to skirt the edges of the woods there. Now, what are we going to do with these guys? So if they can inflict another 4 casualties on this unit of armored foot, that unit will have to test for morale, or instability, sorry, 2 different concepts. It's going to have to test for instability. However, if they hang out here, they're going to have these light horse to deal with. Additionally, we have our heavy or our medium horse along with our terrifying superhero chilling in the center here, wrecking shop with our peasants. So we have to make a decision as to where we want to go. So we want to get off this side of the map. We can't hightail it this way. And they probably can't even see these guys. So what we're going to do, see, and then these guys have a 45-degree arc, and so they can't actually hit the group that we care about. So what we're going to do here is going to go about face, and can these guys see these guys? Probably not, just because there's some woods in the way. Let's give that a 30-60 shot. On a 1 or a 2, they will be able to see through here. On a 2, they can. So let's do a right face, and we'll plan to try to shoot at those guys when they come in. So next we have our blue guys. Movement. Actually, is movement the next thing we do? Yeah, movement's the first thing we do. You'd think I'd remember the turn sequence by now, but I'm trying to remember when I'm thinking about trying to put a haste spell off of this guy onto one of my armored foot to keep them in the game, and we'll get to that. So movement comes first. Our armored foot moves 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I need to put a fatigue marker on these guys. They were here. They've moved twice now, and so that's a fatigue of 2. And these guys will follow up. I think these guys shot last turn too, now that I'm thinking about it. Because they had yeah, I'm pretty sure these guys took some casualties, but we'll worry about that. We'll worry about those later. They were only pretending to be dead, because I don't want to go back to watch the video in the middle of taping this one. Light crossbowmen may fire every turn. If they are moved up to half their normal movement, they may fire once. So that is half his normal movement, and so he's going to shoot at these guys. And I remember this now because this is the same thing they did last turn. There are a total of 10 of them who are able to fire from the first rank, and there's 10 people onto an unarmored. And we are going to have the casualties because these guys are in cover. So they're going to either do 4 or 5. Nope, they're going to do 4, and that will be 2 casualties total, which if they fired the same way last turn, now that I seem to remember they did, that will bring these guys up to 4. Now, when do these guys need to check? When do these guys need to check for instability? 25%. So they are at 20%. If they take 5 times, yeah, they're at 20% right now. So if they take 1 more casualty, they're going to have to test. But they're okay for now. I probably should have finished moving before I did that, but because it will not change anything else, I'm not going to worry about it. These light horse over here, they're going to move forward out of the woods and cut off the retreat of these peasants. They are able to move up to 12, but we're treating this as heavy terrain, so 2, 4, 6, 7, and cavalry require a quarter of their move. So what did I say? They have 12, a quarter of the move is 4. They can do a right face and block this path of exit, and that'll move their fatigue up to 3. And I'll give you a fatigue of 1. Next, the last piece of movement, we have a choice to make. Our superhero, he can pursue these peasants, and if he crashes into these, they are barely on the edge of the woods, so he can still charge. If he crashes into these peasants, then they're going to run off the field, more than likely, and if they run off the field, that I believe qualifies as a rout, and they are not worth any victory points to his other side. But at the same time, these catapults are worth a lot more than these peasants. So he could wheel to one side, come this way, cut these off, and let the peasantry go. So let's give him a 50-50 shot on that. On a 1 to 3, he will go after the peasants. 2, he will go after the peasants, and the cavalry. These guys are going to do their thing. So we're going to charge. 1, 2, 3. Handy dandy movement tracker. And then these guys are going to move in their light cavalry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They will make contact here. And I'm going to bump them up to a 3. Oops, come back. Bump this guy up to a 3. And these guys are going to take pass-through fire, as it is well within the under of their range. So it is the these guys are both ranks are able to fire, so that is 20 shots going in on the light cavalry. They will do 3 and 3, so take these guys up to 9. The horsemen tend to have a high. They have a 33% threshold on their instability, but that is over 33, so they're going to need to test with a 7. That should be enough for horsemen. Let's see. It actually doesn't say here in the rules. It doesn't specify. It does list light peasants or levies, and then later it says heavy, or it has medium horse, not knights, heavy horse, Norman knights. So it doesn't specify, and I'm not going to treat him as light because that's more that's infantry. So what I'm doing is I'm treating him as armored foot in this case. So so next, let's check out what happens in melee. First things first, we rolled to see if our peasants were going to flee from the cavalry charge last time. So this time, let's roll to see if they can withstand the superhero instead, just for funsies, because I don't think that they would pass either check, and I don't think it's going to really change what was the outcome that's going to happen there. So if I jump back here to the superhero entry, when a superhero approaches within his charge movement of the enemy, all such units must check morale as if, oh, okay, I messed that up. They were supposed to check that before I even charged. I don't have to charge them. But anyway, I still have to see if they're going to chill out They are attempting to rally. So troops forced into a retreat or rout back to the enemy must remain unmoved, blah, blah, blah. They must score a 1 or 2 on 1d6. That went way over here, but it is a 1. So they rally in a totally unexpected turn of events there. But they're being attacked in the rear, so they may not return. Blows. So we have first rank of attacks here. We have 20 across, plus the superhero who fights as 8 men. So that's 28 medium horse versus peasants. So let's check our melee table, combat table. So medium horse versus light foot, 2 dice for man, killing on a 4-up. That's a lot of dice. So let's go ahead and do this. See, so 28 divided by 4 should be 7. So 3, 6, 7. Oh. 7 dice. We're looking for 4-ups. 3. Grab our casualty marker here. I probably should, yeah, we'll do it this way. So yeah, we're just going to treat these guys as one block of units here, these 2 units that made contact, just for simplicity. And I don't know where my other die 20s are. So you know, actually I could, yes I do, never mind. So I went over and I found some more d20s, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat, because it's 7, 7, and 7, first 7 on this side, next 7 on this side, and we'll treat these 2 combatants differently. So next 7 dice. Where'd my other, that's 1, 2, 3, oh, it's over here, okay. A 4. This orange d20 that I'm using for casualties there, this is the first die that I ever owned. Well, die 6 not counted, everybody has those. You can like empty the pockets of your workaday toddler and you'll find 6-sided dice. This d20 is the first d20 I ever owned. It has seen my Dwarven Fighter that I played all the way to level 17, that saw my Human Cleric that I made it to level 12, and it saw countless battles in college where it let me down over and over again. I'm pretty sure this die is cursed. or at least it has a bubble. So next we have our last 7. We'll go 4 and 3, 4, 1 more, so and 3. All right, and so that was 28 dice rolled. But hold up. Medium horse gets 2 dice per man. So I need to roll that entire dang thing all over again and keep ripping into these peasants. Ooh, these guys should have stayed home. 3 more. Size up to 7. 4 more. Size up to 9. Where's my 9? Here you are. And then 4 on this side, because we did 4 on the other side last time. That's 2 more. So they've taken 11 casualties out of 20 dudes. So this is not going well for the peasants. And then 2 more on this side, up to 9. So Baron is putting a hurting on these poor peasants. And let's see. Whew. They definitely passed their instability. But first we will do morale for them. The superhero is morale rating 40. And the horses, medium cavalry, are worth. Medium cavalry are worth 8 apiece, and 20 of them took part in the fighting. So 20 times 8 is 160, plus 40 for the superhero is 200 total. The 20. I wonder if we killed more than we're at in there. So 20 peasants. A peasant is worth 360, so that is well over 100. The remaining peasants surrender. So we need, let's see, so they will peel off some dudes to take these guys prisoner. It's a 5-to-1 ratio. There are 20 total peasants remaining, so I'm just going to remove these casualty markers and move this up here. Would that qualify as a destroyed unit? No, I don't know. I don't know if that would qualify as a destroyed unit. It's a unit's worth, but if the unit is still around, they've been taken prisoner. We will worry about it when we get there. So for the purposes of making this easy, it's 5-to-1. There are 20 of them total. We need 4. So let's grab some fake cavalry. I don't have another cavalry marker for these guys, but what we'll do is we will claim that this armored foot is some break-off cavalry, and there should be 4 of them to take on the 20 dudes left. So I'll do the little 16 marker there. And the rest of the group is allowed to continue to charge, but that charge takes them, and we'll bump this to 4 because charge and melee. So Baron's getting tired. I would be too after I killed that many peasants. But that takes them into difficult terrain, and you are not permitted to charge into difficult terrain. So it says you're allowed to charge, or you continue your charge if you can, if applicable, if you can. I'm going to rule at the moment that they cannot move forward. Let's let the dice decide. So 2 and 6, he can continue his movement, but it will not count as a charge. 3 up, he has to stay where he is. 5. The dice are in Baron Amber's favor. So let's see. But all right, now we go over here. So it was not a charge, so these guys don't have to worry about running the roll to run away from cavalry. But we have these guys. This is interesting. I have a very wide front here. So, and I should have spare movement. So these guys should actually be able to wrap around like so. We're going to bump them up to 4 preemptively because we're fighting a melee. And first we will do the simultaneous combat here. That is light horse on light infantry, because they are archers. Light horse versus light foot, 2 dice per man, looking for 5 or a 6. There are 10 in the front rank, so I get to roll 20 times. Hoping I dropped my book. I probably ought to not do that. So I'm rolling 20 dice, looking for 5s and 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is 10. I'll roll this twice. Oh goodness. 1, 2. Oh, that wasn't too bad. It just they're all lumped together. So now I'll use that. 4. And 4 more. Okay, and then we're going to return fighting this way. They are light foot on light horse. They get 1 die every other man, looking for 6s only. And there are 10 of them in the front rank, so I only get to roll 5 times, and I need a 6 to do any damage. 1. Valiant effort. Valiant effort, my dudes. Then on this side, when these guys came in and wrapped around, so they are going to be attacking in the flank. I believe what that does is make them bump up a category. Yeah, I'm not going to slow down. I'm just going to say that's exactly what happens. So we're going to be fighting as medium horse this round. Medium horse versus light foot. 2 dice per man, 4 to 6 kills. There are 20 of them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, we did some accidental casualties there. It shouldn't happen, but that's okay. That's what you get for using dice as your counters. So we're looking for, what did I say, 4-ups? Oh. Yes, 4-up. So 12. And I get to roll that again. And this is a 6. Now, a buddy of mine, 1, 2, so that's 5, so 17. This unit is almost gone. So, a friend of mine recently was talking about dice, and he was saying that people who have dice like yonder that make it difficult to read when you cast them at the table, those are the worst kind of people. I agree. Need to put my readers on. So, post-action morale. I don't even know if I need to roll it. So it was 1 casualty versus 17. So how does that work? Well, we will roll a die 6, that's for sure. Let's see. Use this one since I was just complaining about dice that are hard to read. That is a 1. So they are definitely the victor. So 16 is the difference, times 1 is 16. Plus we have 9 surviving. Yeah, 9 surviving and 10 more, so 19. 19 light horse, 6 apiece is, together that's about 134. And then our light foot are 4 times 3. Yeah, that is also a surrender, is what that is. The difference is greater than 100. So there are a total of 3 left. So I'm going to put this die 4 here to represent 1 cavalryman, and I'll bump this up to 11. 1 cavalryman has peeled off. And I should probably make a mark on this unit, now that I think about it, that 4 of them are missing. Cool. 4 are missing, and this was his movement. So, okay. And that is the end of turn 3. Top of turn 4, everybody. Things are not looking good for our good buddies here on the table, and especially since the sorcerer totally forgot that he could do stuff in turn 3. Nope. I still have to do something. So we already did the thing here. We're going to let our sorcerer do his thing at the end of turn, at the artillery phase of 3. Because as much as I would like to argue with myself over whether or not he's allowed to do it, this is a good opportunity to showcase chainmail magic. So what I would like to do, I am going to cast a spell. The spell is haste. The haste spells, you pick up to 20 figures, and you increase their movement speed by 50% for the next 3 turns. It is a complexity 3 spell, and now we're going to do that with our sorcerer. Sorcerers, on a complexity 3 spell, I need to roll 2d6 to cast the spell. On a 7 or better, it goes live. That is a 9. So I'm going to put the haste die on up to 20 figures. We'll just put them right here on this unit of armored foot. So he is now moving 50% faster. And that is the first spell that my sorcerer buddy has cast this turn. Sorcerers are able to manage up to 5 spells in a battle. So we're going to just go ahead and grab another die, indicate he has cast 1 spell. But Taylor, didn't he blow the snot out of a unit of heavy footmen with a fireball on the first turn? He did. Fireball is not considered a spell. A fireball is a missile attack that is unique to the magic users in the game, and I guess it is assumed that he is carrying around an infinite supply of fireball and lightning bolt scrolls. So we can we don't have to worry about a limitation on that. So, all right, now officially top of turn 4. tie. We'll go roll up here. And Amber has it. Oh, pretty straightforward choice here. 1, 2, 3. If these guys get one more move, they are off the table. See, next we have our light foot. They have a base move and a 9, but 4.5 because we halved all of our things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. We'll just give them that 5th one. Yeah, we'll give them that 5th one. I don't want to sit on the corner. Oh goodness. Let's see. And these guys. Oh goodness. Things are not looking bright for you. Your avenue of retreat is cut off. How are we going to do this? So let's do. Again, this is also a light foot, so he gets 9 or 4.5. He's going to do a turn here. That'll cost him 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. So he makes it to here, but he is facing in the right direction. And then this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. Oh, they're going to bump into each other a little bit there. Not enough to qualify them as having a problem, but just enough that I'm going to give them a fatigue token. Their first of the day. On a larger battlefield, I could see how fatigue would be much bigger of a factor if I had rolled this out and taken up my whole table as opposed to just this half and had them come in from other ways, or if I was playing on a 4x6 or 4x8 surface, then I could see that being a much, much bigger deal than I'm making of it now. That said, some of these dudes are getting pretty tired, so they may have to worry about themselves. We're going to give you had your first voluntary move, but you did move and retreat, so that is technically movement. So I'm just going to say he's got 2, and then these guys, they did an about face and moved, so these are both at 1. What are they going to do now? Let's see. They don't really have much of a choice, so if I fail to attack, then they sit around like a bump on a log. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a right face. That's half their move, and they have 4.5, so they get 1, 2.5. We'll do 2 here. We give them, and so these guys, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to see if I can get these guys to charge the horsemen. And nope, a 3 will not do it. So they sit around like a bump on a log. But hey, that means they're rested if they don't get attacked. Next, who is movement? Next, missile. The arbalests here, they cannot see these guys. They're too deep into the woods. So there's that. Oh, these guys probably ought to move before they think about shooting. So what are we going to do here? Need to stop exhaling so hard. These were our prisoners. They can only move as far as the prisoners. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I'll do 4. 5. Yeah, there we go. We'll give them 5 because we're alternating back and forth. Then our footmen here will move up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. These guys get... I am running out of fatigue dice, you guys. What am I going to do? I can see the value of having like a dry erase pad for these things, like having my army roster over here and just marking grease pen style as to who's fatigued where, as opposed to having these on the field. Alternatively, I could invest in like chips or something, but we'll worry about that for next session. Next, we have these guys. These guys have an extended movement, so they get 1, 2, 3, and then they have another 1.5. So let's do an oblique change, and that should, see, on a, they have 4.5, 50% more is 6.5. So yeah, that's good. That's good enough. We'll let them hang out. They'll let the haste give them. And now we'll go up here. Yeah, we'll move up here because thought process being they trying to talk and move dice at the same time. So the 3 was their basic move. The side face was a quarter move, and so then they would have a quarter move left. And so that's we'll give him 1 more. All right, so he's moving into the woods. He's going to try to help take on these archers who appear to be in retreat. Next, we're going to move these guys up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I said we're on to prisoners. And these guys are in no danger, and they have 4 fatigue, so they're gonna rest. And these guys bump up to 5, so they're probably gonna want to rest next turn after since they've peeled off. This is a good time for the armored guys to show up. So, but that is not good enough. So we had fun with our magic fireball last time, so let's cast another fireball from our good buddy here in every man, I'm getting too excited. We have to fight over here. We have 2 more moves to do. So does he want to go after these peasants, or does he want to go after these artillery? Can he go after the artillery? Because he would have to do a right face. He would have a hard time getting to him. So we'll give it because how would he come to this guy? Because he doesn't want to go straight through the woods, because then he doesn't get his charge bonus. We'll give it a 50-50. 1 to 3, he goes after the peasants. 4 and up, he goes after the catapult. That's a 2, he will go after the peasants. Let's see. As a medium horse, he has 9 spaces on our map. That is plenty to get to the enemy, even if he goes through the woods. And they are facing away from him, so they cannot return casualties. So 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll go ahead and plow right into him. That will, at the end of his turn, put him into fatigue territory, but he does not care. So, let's see. Moving over here. And then, what are these guys going to do? The wise thing to do would probably be to split up, have one skirt up here and engage the peasants, have this one skirt down here and engage the peasants. But there's also a chance they may want to. Yeah, that's the only logical thing to do, because my other thought was both of them coming at this guy on the flank, but then that opens them up to a flank attack, and even if the peasants were reliable about coming into combat, that would not be sound tactics, so I can't do that with a full. So I see 1, 2, 3. And we'll get how far they have moved. And then this guy will go 1, 1.5, 3, because he quarter turn, and 4. So he has moved 4. Okay, so melees. Do we do melee now? No, I have been doing that incorrectly. That's okay. No. Next, we have our missile and artillery. Our missile dudes can't see anybody, but our artillery certainly cannot either. Doesn't matter. He's going to throw a fireball. Let's see. Let's do, I'm not counting the squares, I'm just guesstimating here. Let's do 15 forward and 5 to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, he's going to miss a little. And he's right here. So he is behind. So we're going to do green light, red light. Green is overshoot, red is undershoot. He undershoots by 4. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, uh-oh. Might have just accidentally fireballed their own troops. So last time we gave them a 50-50, so we're going to do 1 to 3. These guys take casualties. 3, they take casualties. That was a mistake. So half the group is in it. That takes them up to 18, and they are going to have to test. Ooh, the sorcerer is going to have to explain that one to Baron Bad Boy when he gets home. So 10, they are all right. They are loving it. Shoot, I wouldn't, but they are braver than I am. Maybe they are emboldened by their haste. Okay. Next, melee here. We have 20 across and a superhero, so 28. And these guys are facing the wrong way, so they do not get to return fighting. 8, 10, 12, 14. So it is medium horse on light infantry. So they're going to get 2 dice per man, 4 to 6 kills. So I've got half of my dice pool right here. Looking for 4-ups, and we'll roll the second time. Okay. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dunk. Get to do this again. Okay. Now the prisoner's rule doesn't look like it's going to be coming up, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. That's 18. Yeah, that's definitely going to result in a surrender. However, the prisoner's rule gives you the option for certain types of troops to not take prisoners. So we're going to go ahead and just put the remaining 2 to the sword. And that is another dead unit. And he moved his full movement to get there, so he is in a good place. He is fatigued, but he is he is done moving. Next we have peasants. Do they stand? 6. They will not. Let's see, what did they need? Peasants needed a 9. A 9. So they're gonna fall back a move and a half. Turn and tail. So 6 and a so they're gonna go 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these guys moved 4 out of their total move of 12. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And they may join melee again. So they're going to hit them in the back. They're light on light. But they are getting 2 dice for man, 5 or 6 kills. Two on the first set. Oh, 3 on the first set. That was a 6. Oops. Okay, and a little bit better this time. No. Exactly the same this time. So 6. And because they are facing away, they do not get to return. So we have 10 horsemen. Oop, I'm going to drop the campaign scenario, but that's okay. For our post-battle morale, we have 10 horsemen. That will add up to a total of 60. We'll get 5 times 6. Ooh, 30, so 90 total. Hey, we're out of the surrender move. We're it might be routing. And the peasants, there are 4 remaining, so 4 times 3 is 12. So, yeah, 12. What did I say that was? So we have 60 plus, yeah, so 90. 90 minus 12 is 72. That is retreat 1 move. We gave them the half last time, and these guys will need to, they're in retreat. So that means they don't have to rally, but they also, did they have a fatigue token on them? I don't remember. They should have, so we're going to give them 1. So they moved, they didn't move, they were rested, and now they have run away. So we have 1. Technically, they ran away twice. Not going to worry about that. Pushing them back. Next. Last combat of the round right here. They're hitting him in the flank. What do? They bolt. Backs to the enemy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. Okay, and then these guys move 3 out of their total of 9. Should be 9. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So not quite quick enough to catch them. But having done all that, they are in fatigued territory. These horsemen are getting tired chasing these peasants. And did I bump these guys yet? Yeah, I bumped these guys too. I think these... And these guys will be at the same fatigue because they are, I don't want to use that. Here's my ancient D10, shaped like a D20. Don't want to get confused as to what the die represents. And so, those guys are at 6 fatigue. We'll put these guys at 6 also. Because they were moving together. So, tired, tired, tired. Whew, been a long day so far. Not as long for these guys. Spooky. And that will be our turn 4. Okay. Turn 5 should be coming up on the end. So we're going to do red and blue. And Baron Amber has it. These guys move off the table. So 1 unit is saved, or 2 units actually. So we have our catapults having gotten away. These guys need to rally because they fled from a cavalry charge, so they chill out. These guys, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4.5 here, and then we'll 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. So these guys are at 2 fatigue. Now, there aren't any rules for this, but there are literally 2 armored footmen just hyper and jumping around right here. I'm wondering if I could just have these guys march up and join up and link up with those guys. I don't see why not. So we're going to go ahead. That will mean these guys will sacrifice the effect of the haste. That's my problem. So we're going to have these guys march to get out of the way. 1, 2, and these guys get to move further because they are light foot. 3, 4. Whoop, 3, 4. So these guys are going to take a quarter turn. They have a net of they have 3 spaces. That'll take one. They'll take half one. So we'll do. We'll move them here. This will assimilate, and we'll put these in limbo land because we have a couple limbo casualties here. We'll worry about them at the end of the game, and then this will bump up because they moved again. 4, and then this will drop down to 8, and then we're going to give these guys their own fatigue tracker as they march into the woods. So why can't you just walk through and worry about units coming into touch with each other? Well, think about a little factoid from AD&D where indoors a square on the map was 10 feet, and the guidance was that 3 men might fight abreast. That means that 1 man takes up about just a little bit over a yard, so a meter or so of space, and in chainmail, 1 inch is 10 yards. A 20-man unit fighting 2 ranks deep on a 1-inch grid at 1 inch is 10 yards. What a coincidence. That means that my actual physical unit is taking up the space that my base is taking up. Now, it's a little it's a little wider than or it's a little taller than it could be wide, but the point is it's kind of interesting because it all lines up. It's almost like Gary thought this through when he was putting the game together. Okay, these guys are going to rest this turn. That fatigue is going to go away. These guys are going to rest also. They know they're going to catch this guy, and those peasants, those peasants don't stand a chance against that wizard, so I'm not too concerned there. The Baron, we're going to go ahead and move him because he's already fatigued. Might as well be. So we're going to do a right face. That takes a quarter movement for cavalry. So out of his 9, it's 2, so he has 7 left. 1, 2, because he's in the woods. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He is cleaning up, and this is not looking good for those archers who are hoping to get out of the fracas. And these guys are going to do an about face. Takes about half their move, and they have 3. They can move 3 left. 1, 2, 3. Getting in trouble. These guys are going to do this. So a quarter. That's 1/8. So 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Ooh. And they're going to make contact. With the injured unit, I think. Or was this guy? I think it was this guy. Because this guy was coming. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that guy. We're going to give you your separate fatigue counter. Because why not? Oop. 2. And more 12-sided dice. This guy moved. And this guy moved and is engaging, and he may be engaging in combat. So we will let the dice decide. Now, oh no, I don't have to make I do not have the dice deciding. They are coming in on the flank, but it's not a charge. So we're just going to fight. So because we'll do the we will do the archers first because that'll be fewer dice. They're coming in on the flank, so their enemy counts 1 step up. The Lightfoot attacking medium horse, 1 die per 3 men. Ooh. So we have. Now they're coming on the flank. There's only, I said they were 2 deep. So really there's only 2 guys there. They're only going to get 1 die to attack. I'm going to have to think about that. But in the meantime, they do kill 1. So that takes... This bumps up to 12. However, we have our 10 horsemen. They're going to be rolling 2 dice apiece and killing on 5s. Oh, 4 to 6, sorry, because they're flanking. 3, 5, 3, 5. I'll move you. That's not pretty. 6. And we go. So that was 1 casualty to 11. The morale bonus is going to be 50. So I think we know where this is going. So we have 10 light, well, 9 surviving light horsemen. That's 56 plus, what I say, I should have really left that die on the table. But what that's going to be is, that's going to mean we're going to be in a 80 to 99. I don't think it takes them over. So what these guys are going to do is they're going to route 1.5 moves. And I did this out of order again because I'm stupid, but we'll get there. So what they're going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this was not a good direction to route. But hey, these guys are tired. Who knows? And the doing it out of order is something that matters because these guys, we're going to take a pot shot at these guys. So we're going to go ahead and do that. These guys have the 45-degree arc on this guy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's within their range, and they did move. They moved their full movement. So does that mean they have to? That affects your rate of fire. If crossbowmen, archers, and longbowmen are moved up to 1/2 their normal movement, they may fire once. If they are moved over that, they may fire once, and only if they beat their opponent's die roll. So blue and amber. If amber wins, they get to take a shot. It's a tie. They win. So I wonder if I was supposed to roll that. So we have 20 shooting at medium cavalry. That's half armored. So that'll be 6 casualties, no save. They are at 10. That's not 10 dead. That's 10. That's 10 removed because remember we had a handful coming up this way escorting prisoners. So they're not going to have to test morale just yet. All right. And our wizard buddy, he pretty much can't do. He's probably just going to chill because I think if I were doing things in the correct order, he would not have a shot on anybody. And as we learned with our ill-fated fireball, it was very effective the first time we used it, but the second time we used it, it kind of backfired and scorched our own troops. So I think the best bet for our wizard right now is to stay still. Are there other things that he could be doing with his time? Yeah, probably. They have a bunch of spells that they can do. Some of them, they can prevent magic. They can summon units. They can create fake units or find things that are concealed. We're not going to worry about any of that. We're going to let him do his thing. So that is the end of turn 5. Turn 6. Out of fingers. Had to use my other hand. The Team Amber is not in a good place, but they may yet make it off of the table. We'll see how that goes. Yep, and Amber has the advantage again. This is a real die. I have examined it. There are no bubbles in it. I love translucent dice for that reason. movement. So we will take it from this side over. These guys routed, so I think they have to rally this turn. These guys fled, so they can theoretically move. These guys can go, and these guys have to rally. So we're gonna go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and that might not be enough. So what I was hoping to do there is get these guys in the way to let these archers off the field, but it looks like these guys may have a way around, and they may chase these guys off the field in disarray. Okay. Our Baron friend is blocked here. This unit could peel off and engage with those guys. I'm just going to go ahead and remove these from the table because they are not going to get rescued. And this was, oh, and I probably should have kept, these were captured. And most of them were dead, as I recall. I think I messed up the die there, but that's okay. So that's the movement they can do. So cavalry, these guys will charge here, and then the superhero will, these guys charge here. So they've moved, they're all fatigued, and we will split the casualties 50-50 between them as they break up the line. And these guys have a 2 in 6 chance to rally. They do. And so because these guys are fatigued, they are, and I know I should have rolled for instability for these guys first because they're in charge distance of a superhero, but I wasn't doing that earlier, so I figure I'll be consistent. Well, wrong, but consistently wrong. Then these guys, they are at a 6 fatigue, so they're going to rest. I'm going to take that off. These guys rested last turn. They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are in the open, so they can make that into a charge. We've moved 5. And the peasants first, so these guys rallied and they're going to fight. What do these guys do? Ooh. 5. They are going to retreat a move and a half. Backs to the enemy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to bump them up to 3 fatigue because they moved this turn. And this guy, so they moved 1. That means he moved 3 to get there. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He cannot quite catch them. Let's see. And that will 4 fatigue. And these guys rested. We said that already. This guy will try to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he makes contact with them. Nice. So they are fleeing, so that means they have to rally. They do not. So they will bolt off the table. I was thinking that these guys might have made it if these guys had been blocked. These guys might have made it if these guys had been blocked, but did not happen. Okay. Next, we're going to roll for these guys. Do they rally? Yes, they do. That's not wise. 1, 2. So, because they're being attacked in the rear, they do not get to return casualties. 2, 4, 6, 10. And these guys get both roll the dice. Okay, they're up to 10. And they're going to need to test for instability. So let's see, they 3 times 10, not 8, sorry. So 3 times 8 is 24 plus 10 light horse, 60. So 92, that'll be a route 1.5 move. 4, 5, 6. Uh-oh. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so they will continue their pursuit there, and melee will be joined again. We're just going to kill these guys off. There's no way. That is a destroyed unit. And that will bump the fatigue on that cavalry unit to 3. But it's probably not going to matter, because I think this game is pretty much over. Yeah, I think I'm going to just remove these guys. They're not getting rescued. So these are taken prisoner. And we'll boil those down to just the one, because why not? Well, we'll do that aftermath after that. And then these guys will go into here, and we'll say they chase them off the field. So these are a route off the rear. And then we'll let this combat play out, and then that'll be the last of our evening. 10 on 10 though, so we got a good matchup. Let's see. First we have our archers. Archers get 1 for every 3 men against medium horse, and there are 10 of them in the front line. No casualties. And then we have the medium horse. They will get 2 per man and are looking for 4 ups. 10. Oh yeah. Huh. This unit was damaged. They are wiped out. So, another dead unit. So, all things told, this was, I would say, a pretty overwhelming victory for Baron Blue. But I will have to do some math in the... I'll have to do some math in the morning. I have a text message to send to our good buddy Purple Druid about the battle report, and we will think about what this battle means.